So, welcome everyone. My name is Maria Chiara Mezzadri, and I'm an SI practitioner, Italian, but based in Portugal. And before becoming an SI practitioner, I used to be a professional dancer. And for me, the theater has always been a place of storytelling. And I always find it inspiring to get to know stories and the stories behind the people. And I am really, really happy that Aleš Urbanczik, I hope I say it right, has accepted this
Pretty good.
invitation. He's a man of many stories, as you know. And so I'm very grateful that you decided to come here today and to talk to us a little bit. For those who don't know him, who I doubt somebody doesn't know him here, Aleš is, of course, an SI practitioner, is the president of the European Guild for Structural Integration. He is a former actor, so we have that in common, the theater world. And he's a movie director, a yoga teacher, and also created his own I guess, way of practicing yoga, which is called the Rolf yoga. Correct me if I'm saying anything that is wrong.
No, you're fine. Yeah.
Thanks. And so before we start with something to go into any of these threads, I would like to start at the beginning. And how is it that you encountered structural integration? What was the context and what has brought you to it?
Right. By the way, if anyone during this whole hour has any questions, and just put them in the chat, and we'll either talk about them in the end, or I will, if they're pertinent to something we're just talking about, I'll just pick them up then, because I'm kind of looking at the chat at the moment as well. So I'm going to make a long story very, very short. I was at the acting academy in Zurich, and I had one of the worst moments in my life because I was totally depressed. But in addition to that, my right knee hurt 5 years after a really bad surgery where the meniscus had been completely removed and my knee still hurt. But my mental state was it was terrible. And I was, in hindsight, it was dramatic at the time. I wanted to shoot myself. So I'm just going to put it as bluntly as that. The story why I wanted to shoot myself is a little too long for this conversation. But it was just before the final exams, and I thought I'm a partner in so many plays, in so many little bits so I can't let my colleagues down. I was originally brought up in communist countries, and where the collective is an important element. And I thought, well, I'm going to shoot myself after the exam. Okay, we'll do the exam and I'll do that afterwards. But my knee hurt so much. And then somebody suggested I go and see a Rolfer. And of course, I had no idea what that was. And I went to see Bert Schmitz in Zurich. And the knee was kind of a sideshow. After 3 sessions, my knee didn't hurt anymore. But what happened psychologically was so amazing. After my first session, I walked around Zurich for about a day, not knowing who I was. It was really, really dramatic. And after 10 sessions, I thought, well, my depression is not gone, but I can kind of see a light at the end of the tunnel. And I'm a smart guy, so I thought, wow, I mean, if 10 hours of structural body work can get you into a state where you don't want to shoot yourself anymore, how far can you get if you think along the same ideas, along the same lines that you've just experienced for the next 20 or 30 years? So I thought, there's no point in shooting myself. I have a path that I can kind of follow. Okay? And so that's the story how I got into it. And I finished acting school, was on stage for 7 years after that. And well, here I am now.
Amazing. Thank you for that. And so your encounter with Bert was very special, and you guys are still working together. What is your relationship nowadays to Bert? So after so many years, he's still part of the European Guild, which is beautiful.
Well, yes. I mean, I always wanted to have in the basic training at least some element of psychology and client therapist interaction, that we deal with that also. And it was the most natural thing to ask Bert to take
Mhm.
that over.
Mhm.
He defines this client, he defines the session and the client therapist interaction. He calls that a um, non I may be using the wrong word now, but identity-free space, an
Yeah.
identity-free space that you want to create between you and your client. And so he has these seminars for us where he works on that with people.
Mhm. Yeah. Beautiful. And how long did it take for you to then decide to become a Rolfer?
Well, after about 7 years of acting, I got a little bit tired of being on stage simply because it's a very it's a very small group, that very small world you live in, because you have schedules that are different than everybody else. You know, you work late at night, and during the day you sleep part of the day, and you're always with the same people. And I had to say after 7 years that most directors in theater are idiots. Um, simply because they don't know how to deal with people. You know, they have their ideas, and then you have a marionette which they move around on stage. But most of them are not able to form a group around a collective idea or around a collective story that those people on stage want to tell. You know, and so I decided to pick up what had until then been the biggest impression in my life, and that was structural integration. And so I went to talk to Bert, and Bert said, listen, this was 1990, roughly. Okay. And he said, listen, Bert, listen, Aleš, there are two schools. Which one do you want to go to? And I said, I have no idea. What's the difference? And then he tried to explain to me a little bit the difference, because this was just after the guild had split off from the institute. And he said, well, go and check them both out. My hunch is that the type of personality that you are, you'd be better off with the guild than with the institute. Okay. So he didn't make it a recommendation based on quality of the teaching or something like that. He just had a feeling I would be a better match with Peter Melchior and Emmett Hutchins than with Peter Schwind or Jan Sultan. Okay.
Hmm.
So I went to check them out both, and I had to find that he's right, probably. Okay.
And you had them both as teachers, Emmett and Peter?
Yes, I had them both. I actually, after my basic training in Boulder, we lived in California, in Santa Cruz in California, for 11 years. And I had my basic training with Peter Melchior, and Emmett Hutchins was, of course, living in Hawaii by then. And of course, my family, you can imagine Leah, my wife, and my little son, Yannick, who was by then, he was about 6 or 7 years old. They would once a year, they would come and ask me, Aleš, don't you think you want to do some continuing education in Hawaii with Emmett a little bit? And so for about 10 years, once a year, we had to go to Hawaii. And I did my advanced training there with him, and he was a really big influence on my way of thinking about the work.
Wow, beautiful. I only tell us a bit about them, about Peter, or because we only, our generation of
Goodness me,
practitioners, we only
I'll
get to
try
see
and
them in some videos, and that's how
right,
we have.
right.
But I always heard also from other practitioners about how special these men were, and
Yeah.
how was
Well,
it
they
for
were
you?
they were both very special in their very own ways, and they were very, 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 very different. Okay? So Peter Melchior was somebody who came from language, from poetry, from talking about the work. And he was maybe the most liberal person that I have ever met in my life in regards to this work. He would not really enforce anything ever in a class. He would just create a space where people could learn. And if they learned, it was okay. If they didn't learn, he didn't give a damn. Okay? But he was there. You know, when you wanted something, he was there to ask him. And he had a very, very subtle style. So you could say that he allowed change to happen. Okay? He created the space, the boundaries in the body and in the classroom for change to happen. Emmett was very different. Emmett was more directive. Okay? Emmett couldn't talk. He didn't talk, hardly at all. You had to kind of learn from Emmett by osmosis, you know, by watching him work. Okay? Because when you asked him something, he did reply something, but every time you thought, oh, I might as well not have asked. It doesn't make any difference. Just watch him work, and then you'll get something. And he didn't allow, he made change. So he had a different touch. He worked like a sculptor. Okay? And sometimes there were moments where it was very intense. But he never crossed, at least in the classes that I was and on me, any boundaries. Okay? But it was much more intense than Peter's work. I remember once Emmett working on my head, and I was thinking, I'm going to die now. And the next thought I had was, doesn't make any difference. It's just as well I might die now than later. You know? So it was a very, very unusual way of being with Emmett. But the results were the same. So for me, structural integration is not the point where you do it like this or like this. It has to conform to you, who you are, your personality, and you will find the people who you can work with, and it'll be fine. You know, if you have a soft touch, if you have a little bit of a hard, I think this is not a very important discussion, or it's not a very interesting discussion.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And what kind of practitioner are you? What do you enjoy the most?
Well, I'm kind of between the two. And I think this is probably true for most structural integration practitioners that were trained at the Guild, that over time you become more precise and you become less assertive. You move more towards Peter Melchior style. You know where to go, and you allow the change to happen. You take much more your time. So, yeah, I'm somewhere in between, but over the years I've gravitated more towards Peter Melchior, I would say. I have explored for myself recently what Ida Rolf called layers in the body, and that has dramatically changed my practice. Dramatically improved it also, because now we have from Carlos Teco's work, we have an idea of what these layers are. In my basic training, these layers were always talked about as layers, like layers of an onion, but nobody, not Peter, nor Emmett, defined these layers anatomically. But I think you can define them, and you can actually feel them and touch them if you know what they are or where they are. So, and that's going to be my workshop at the symposium.
Do you want to talk a little bit about that, about the symposium, since you're mentioning it?
Well, about the symposium itself, I can just say that we've decided on a very, very creative and interactive format. So we're going to have 5 main presenters there, 3 from the Rolf Institute. I'm going to be there from the Guild, and there's going to be John Sharkey there as a fascial researcher. And we decided that we'll split the practitioners that are coming into 4 groups. So every one of the instructors needs to teach their workshop 4 times. So every group gets to have a whole day with every one of the instructors. Every one of the instructors also has a day off, okay? Because it's 5 days. And on this day, it's not a day off. They are not supposed to go sightseeing in Prague, but they're supposed to go and watch all the other workshops. So they go around the whole day and peek into the other workshops that are going on. And the next morning, they will bring their what they saw, what they liked, what they didn't like, into a panel discussion and lead that panel discussion. So we're going to be talking amongst each other, which is probably kind of an experiment, but it's going to be at least interesting.
So there is like a structure, but it's very likely to even change every day according to these influences.
Well, there is a structure. It's not going to be changed that much, but the panel discussion is going to be led by somebody else. It's going to have a different style, whether Gail Rosewood leads it or whether John Sharkey leads it. It's going to be different emphasis in the discussion. Okay?
That's beautiful. And you already have many practitioners registered?
We're going to be about 80
I'm
people.
going to be there.
Yeah, I know. There's going to be about 80 people. We can't really take more than that.
Okay, fantastic.
Okay? Just because of the room sizes and because of, I don't like teaching a workshop for more than 20 people without assistance and stuff. So we had to there's going to be about roughly 80 people.
Amazing.
There's a couple of actually, we're just over 70 now. So there's a couple of last places to fill if anybody wants to jump on board at the last minute. It's possible.
Amazing. And if we go back in time, previously, pre-symposium, everything, when did you come back to Europe, and how did you get the idea of starting the European Guild? What happened?
Well, I had started working a little bit in my home country in the Czech Republic.
Okay.
So I would go there every couple of months and work there. And people were pushing me to teach. And I just said no. I resisted for a very, very long time simply because I felt the shoes that I would have to fill with Peter Melchior and Emmett Hutchins were just too big. I did not. I was really scared. I was literally scared. I was, of teaching a class and taking up the responsibility, having to fill those shoes. And
how long were you already practicing back then? By that point?
Well, at that point, I had been practicing about 15 years or so. So, okay. And I had to wait until 20 until somebody actually persuaded me. And it was actually an interesting story, which some of you have maybe heard. There was a woman that came to me in Prague after a bad skiing accident, and she had hurt her neck badly. And the doctors had told her that one wrong movement could put her in a wheelchair. And it was strange because I would teach my students nowadays, hey, don't touch this. Do not touch this. Okay? This is just not your field. But strangely enough, I was not afraid at all. I have over the years kind of learned to follow my instinct, and my instinct was it's okay. And so I took her through a basic series. I didn't work on the neck initially at all. I just worked, I did a basic series. And she is our movement instructor now, and she is a Pilates teacher now. So basically, those 10 sessions got her to the point where she was able to not be afraid of the wheelchair anymore and function normally again. And her husband was interested, and he had been watching the sessions because he was, of course, just as scared as of something going wrong. And after those sessions, he said, I want to learn this. And I said, well, okay, there's a school there and there's a school there. And he said, no. I'm going to sell my company and I'm going to devote my time to creating an organization where you can teach. And so this is how the guild started. Okay. It was also time because the guild practitioners in Europe, we slowly had the feeling that amongst all the good innovation that was going on, partly from the Rolf Institute, partly from Tom Myers's work, partly from all other schools, they were always emphasizing they were innovating the work. That was their main thing. But then amongst all that innovation, the basic the basic stuff was getting lost and forgotten. You know, the very simple original work. And so it was another impulse to start the guild and have at least one school in the world which just teaches the original and the recipe and nothing else. Right? And this is what we still do.
Mm-hmm. So in the beginning, you were the main teacher as well?
Initially I was the only teacher.
Teacher and organizer.
For about 3 or 4 years, and then Adam Polanski jumped on board. Fulvio Fardella jumped on board. You know, we from the beginning we had people come over. Neil Powers was here, David Davis was here, Nielsen Silvera came to help, and yeah.
Were
So
these people that you met through your training?
Well, those were all my teachers at some point in my life. So I basically got all the people I knew on board. I knew people that basically were along the similar line of thinking as we were.
Hmm. Well, I had the pleasure to meet some of them, and I was trained in your school, and I will be forever grateful for that. So where do you see the school going? How is it going now after, how many years has it been already?
It's been 15 years now.
15 years? And you've trained how many people?
Probably about 150. Give or take a little bit. It's in that ballpark.
Yeah.
So, well, we're still growing. I mean, the next step for me, or the step that I've been working on the last maybe 3 or 4 or 5 years, is getting a next generation of instructors. Which, you know, that is not so easy, to have people who are actually interested in teaching. Because teaching also involves that you don't make an incredible amount of money while you're teaching. You can make much more in your own practice. You know? Plus, then there's this, you need a certain type of personality to want to teach. You need a certain amount of experience. You need to assist for a while. And our basic trainings are 2 years, you know. Yeah. They're nearly 2 years. So to have somebody assist X amount of times over every time of the 2 years, it's a commitment. It's really a big commitment. So, but we're doing okay. We've got yeah. I'm not as scared anymore as I was 4 years ago that we wouldn't make it. We'll make it. We'll make it and we'll survive. Okay, good.
And I'd love to talk and to hear about the movies. So the movies are fantastic. I don't know if, I guess maybe the people that are here today have seen them. You have Finding the Line and Mother of Fascia. I love Mother of Fascia. And I'd love to also hear a little bit how you came to that, and how was that all experience of traveling to the States, interviewing all these people that are very, very important in the SI community. How was that for you? And yeah, tell us about this incredible project.
Yeah, let me start with Finding the Line. Finding the Line originally had its is a replica of an idea that I've encountered in my acting school. Because on the first day at my acting academy, Zurich, the Swiss television was there. And they created a documentary where they followed 5 or 6 of these people that were on that first day at the academy over 30 years. Over 30 years. And it's a fantastic movie that is out, you know, that was shown recently on Swiss TV. And I thought, well, 30 years, we can't do that, but we could just follow people through a basic training and see how they develop and see what their ideas are like and interview them and actually use it to show a little bit what the training is about and what structural integration is about. So we picked up this idea from Swiss TV and basically made it into 3 years. And after we had done that, Gregor and I thought, well, we started talking and explaining structural integration, but what we need to do next is really talk about Ida Rolf, because there was all this fascial research and all these professors are wonderful people, and they never mentioned that they're standing on Adolf's shoulders. Okay, they never mentioned that. And I think it's really a shame that the history of this, she was really the first person in the 20th century, at least that I know of, that pointed in the right direction. Okay? And you have to, I think you have to, if you look at this historically, when I started working, fascial work was a little bit like voodoo. It was not considered by the medical profession as something important. But she still pointed in that direction, and she pointed to the importance. And so it's a scandal that she's not mentioned. And so we decided to do a movie about her, about the history, and about how she came about in doing that. Of course, the project was incredibly difficult because it's not easy to make a biography about somebody where the first visual material you have is when she's 70 years old. So you have to kind of figure out, what do you do in the first 70 years? And so fortunately, there was many interviews with her, which she basically told her entire life herself. And we decided to do a voiceover using her words and tell her own life story, and then find appropriate pictures and to give people an idea of the atmosphere of the time that she lived in and the challenges that she had. So
how did you get the whole thing organized and produced and money?
Well, it was
What
2 years of
was the
sitting.
whole...
It was 2 years of sitting on the internet and digging through archives. I mean, countless emails to different institutions. Do you have this? Do you have that? Do you have any record of Ida Rolf? And yeah, it's
Were
tedious
people
work.
open to that?
The institutions, most of them were actually quite nice. Most of them were okay. Yeah, one or two didn't respond, but most of them were actually very, very, very good. Yeah. But and of course, I mean, the finances, this is basically out of my pension fund funded. We didn't get any funding for the movie for something like that. And it's, if you will, it's a no budget movie by standards of the film industry.
Mm-hmm.
So a low budget movie, just that that starts at about $250,000. That's a low budget movie. Okay. This one cost about, I don't know, probably about 80,000 or something like that in the end. And so to get a distributor to actually, in the United States, to actually distribute it on, in the internet and take over, and actually we have a DVD even now.
I saw.
Is actually quite remarkable. Okay, so it's nice. It's going to spread and it's going to be there, and But I think what I'm really glad about is if the title of the movie, Ida Rolf, Mother of Fascia, gets kind of established as that in itself, basically does what I wanted to do. Okay, so.
And is there a way that we can support all this work, also, or the movie, or funding, donations? Do you have anything of that kind aside from buying the movie?
Yeah, sure. Just watch it and buy the movie. We get, I mean, the distributor, of course, gets about 2/3. We get 1/3, but it's a little bit of something. This is how capitalism and stuff like that works. But, they have to make a living as well. So.
Well, they're really beautiful. So thank you for that. We have been very inspired also here. My husband is a Feldenkrais practitioner, so it also was very beautiful to watch that relationship and how you spoke about that friendship that they had.
They did. That was actually because you mentioned the institutions. That was one of the funniest encounters, was with the Feldenkrais Association.
Oh yeah.
because they mentioned to me that they have pictures of the basic series that Ida Rolf did with Moshe Feldenkrais. They have a before-after picture. And I said, well, do you think that we could? And then they asked the heirs of Moshe Feldenkrais, and the heirs unfortunately said, no, we don't want grandfather in his underwear in a movie. So ultimately, it didn't happen, but it was a funny exchange with them.
But it was great. Thank you so much for this sharing. And so do you want to make maybe a special invitation again to the symposium or to the school or something that you would like to talk about?
Well, I don't know. It's very international here. So I think the only
Yeah.
thing I can say is there's still about 5 or 6 places left for the symposium. Jump in. It's going to be great at the beginning of June in Prague. You can just go to, I'm going to put it in the chat, iderolf2026.com. There. And, oh, what I can say about something else, I don't know if you realize it's going to be Ida Rolf's 130th birthday in exactly 9 days.
Oh.
Okay. And we're going to launch a new website there on that day, or maybe the day before, where we have the 2 books that we've written and the 2 movies all on one page. Okay. Where you don't have to go to different places, but they're going to be there. And it's got the URL is going to be Ida Rolf. Oh, let me put this in there. iderolf.eu. So that's going to be the URL from the 19th where you can access the movies and the books and all together.
So you have
maybe
you have a new book coming out.
We have a new book coming out. Yes, we have a new book coming out.
Mm-hmm. Do you want to say something about that?
I can say something about that. Right. In 2023, Wayne Hackett, who was one of the friends of Emmett Hutchins, called me up and asked me, hey, I found 90 tapes of Ida Rolf's Advanced Classes 74 and 76 audio cassettes in Emmett's garage. Okay, do you want them? And I said, well, before you throw them away, yeah, let me have them. And then we met in Appenzell. He was teaching a workshop there in Switzerland. He gave me these. Well, I can show you these. This looks like 3 boxes like this. You can see. And so we had them digitized actually and transcribed, and about 50 of them were good enough audio quality that the transcription was worth reading. Some of them were just had more time. Sometimes, and that was even funny. I mean, we're talking Esalen in the 1970s. I mean, sometimes you can say, I mean, why didn't you put the microphone closer to her? Why is the microphone somewhere 20 yards away where you can hardly hear her voice? Are you crazy? Or some of them were just some other nonsense. But about 50 of them were fine. And so we basically transcribed them and put them into a book, which is in print right now. It's going to be have its premiere at the Symposium and can be bought online afterwards. It's going to be called Ida Rolf Talks in Class. And it is a very minimally edited, hardly at all, just a transcript of discussions with the students, of her lectures, of her teachings. It's a book that I think you can have next to your bed in the evening and just take it and open it somewhere and just read 2 pages. It's not a book that you would probably read from start to finish because, and it's about 350 pages. So it's quite a lot. And we created a very good index glossary. So if you want to look up a topic, for instance, the Zohars, then you can find all the pages which on the word Zoas is a lot. There's a lot of pages where she mentions that. And you could just look up and see what she had to say about that.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Aleš, for all the
Yeah,
work
this
that
is
you
kind
do.
of, are you familiar with Tom Myers?
Yes.
You all know Tom, right? Tom is in many ways, he's a friend. When he comes to Switzerland, we always have dinner together and stuff. So he was during the COVID time. He did a symposium about something, and I was there with 500 other people. And in the beginning of the symposium, he kind of acknowledged all the schools and said, "There's this school and that school and da da da." And then he goes and says, "And then there are these elves in Europe." And I thought at first, "You call us elves?" Because I thought, this is in front of 500 people. This could be considered a little bit of an insult. But I kind of afterwards thought, the elves are not people who go by modernisms or by stuff that changes. They just preserve the old. That's their job. And if that's what we do, that's fine. And so we've also put these interviews of not the interviews, the lectures and the discussions with the students that either Rolf had in 74 and 76 into a book. That seems to be our mission. Okay?
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Aleš. So we're coming to an end. If anybody has a question, maybe we can discuss now for a few minutes, or a curiosity or something that they want to find out about, or a comment.
Dominique, where are you from? I don't know you. Okay. I'm not a lip reader. Maybe.
Yeah. We had a talk before, I think. Yeah.
Where are you from? Where are you based?
From the Netherlands.
Oh, you're in Holland. Okay, great.
Yeah.
You know Bert and Bernadette?
Yes, sure.
Bernadette works in my practice once a month.
Oh, really?
So she's going to be here in 10 days and take over my practice. I have to plug this in now. There. Good.
Bert is online as well, right? Everybody there or not? Yeah.
I don't know.
No, Bert couldn't make it. He sent me a message. He couldn't make it.
Oh, okay.
But he says hello to everybody.
Yes, super. No, it's nice. Yeah.
So, thank you very much. Thank you very much, Aleš, for your time.
Any other questions on the chat or like that? Or have I made myself abundantly clear?
So the next time that you have to do some transcripts, Paul says that you can use ICO, a free tool.
Yeah. We could have waited for another year and the AI would have been even better. But
to make up things.
Pardon?
The AI can make the fantasy out of it.
Well, it can.
It can make a real movie.
It can, of course.
Yeah.
You have to keep a close watch on it, what it does.
Yeah.
But it was very helpful in putting this together, I have to say. Okay.
Yes. No, but I have no questions. I was a bit late today because I was teaching, but I already said by email, I'm also very happy with your movies and all the work you do. I mean,
Thank you.
It's really supportive, and
thank you.
It's nice to see you. And probably I have many questions later on. Maybe there is a moment we will meet in person or something, but at the moment
I'm sure we will.
It's fine like this. Yeah. Yes. At some point we will meet, definitely.
Good.
Yeah.
So
thank you very much for all the things. Yeah.
At the last symposium in the United States, one of our only regrets is that we didn't have tables set up in the lounge for practitioners to trade work with each other in their free moments. And I was just curious if there's going to be any opportunities like that in Prague.
There is, absolutely. I'm gonna talk about on the first day that you shouldn't do that too much. No, and I'll tell you why, because you're going to get working class. So it's a hands-on symposium. It's not, we're not just going to talk, we're going to work. The tables are still going to be there in the evening. So if there's something more, but you know how that is, Ben. Sometimes too much of something is also a little bit disorienting. So yeah, the opportunity.
In my opinion, it all depends on your skill level. And quite honestly, I'm hoping to be practitioners at a very high level at the conference.
We'll have everything there.
Excellent.
We'll have everything there from students to 50 years of experience, which I think is good. The tables will be still there in the evening, and if you want to absolutely put your fingers on somebody else, then the opportunity will be there. Don't worry.
Well, thank you for making this possible. I'm really excited to get there.
Hey. The panel at the symposium will be recorded, as will all other seminars. Yes. Yeah, they will.
You will then share them on the site of the.
Well, we'll somehow share them. I don't know how yet. We haven't,
Yeah.
I'm kind of. Yeah. Peter Melchior said, "Well, let's step into the room when we get there."
Yeah.
Which I think he quoted some Native American thing or something.
So, I guess. And the discussion of the differences among the schools and similarities.
I don't know about that. About the panel. I don't know what the panel is exactly going to talk about. It'll really depend on the people. As I said initially, one person is going to watch all other workshops during a day and then come up with a topic. So, and that topic, for instance, on the very first day, because John Sharkey is a little bit the odd man out in the group. The odd man out insofar as he's not a trained SI practitioner. He comes from fascial research. He has experienced structural integration, and he has an incredible amount of respect for Rolf's work. But he's not a practitioner. So on the first day, he is going to walk around all the workshops and get a feel of who we are and what we stand for. And then the next day, he's going to lead the discussion about that. And I don't know what topic he'll choose. He'll choose something, I'm sure. So I live permanently near Zurich, and it is possible to book sessions with me, yes. I live about 15 miles outside of Zurich, in a small town. How was your cooperation with the Polish therapists? No problems, unless there's something specific that you want to know. I mean, we have basic trainings there, and oh, you're from Poland, okay. Well, why don't you go and see somebody there instead of coming to Zurich? It would make more sense. It's a very long way. You can go to rolfgill.eu and you will find under find a practitioner. You'll find many Polish practitioners, which are very good practitioners. So I would recommend doing that.
Okay.
Matthias, can I ask you something? I've been looking at this thing next to you. What is that?
That's Olympic torch.
Well, that's what I thought, but how come you have an Olympic torch next to you?
I was a torchbearer in London, 2012. So
are you kidding?
I could keep the torch, yeah. So that's the original Olympic, yeah, thing.
That's quite impressive.
Yeah, it was a great experience, to be honest. Yeah, really.
But did you take part in the Olympics?
Not as an athlete, but as a coach. Yeah, I
Who
was
did
in
you coach?
Beijing. I was in Beijing 2008 and 2012 in London. I had some athletes, yeah, and in cycling. So
Wow.
that's
So we
my
have a structural integration practitioner who coached the Olympic team or something and was a torchbearer. I'm proud of you.
yeah. Yeah, so it was pretty cool. Yeah.
I bet. I bet. Okay.
Thank you so much. So I'm
Are
going to
we
stop the
okay
recording
for
now.
today, or is there any last minute something wants to add?
I want to thank you for today and everybody for being here. Thank you for participating and inscribing yourself for this conversation. I plan to do many more. I love these meetings and I love to have conversations about what we do. I find it inspiring, and we can always take things into our practice and find ways to connect.
Okay,
Thank
so
you so
I'm going
much.
to say
Look
goodbye
forward to
to
seeing you all in
everyone,
Prague.
and we'll see you
We'll
in
be in
Prague,
touch.
some of you at least, okay?
See you soon.